Hey guys, Courtney here again. So it is the month of March, and this month one of my all-time favourite YA books has come out as a film. So I thought I'd bring you some of the YA books that are going to hit the big screen in 2014. I'm going to start it off with The Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead, which is one of my favourite books that came out as a film just last week actually. So completely this Vampire Academy sort of goes back to the old traditional idea of vampires, where they've got their own separate society away from the humans. So basically this story follows Lissa and Rose, who are best friends. They've grown up together, they're sort of like sisters. Lissa is a vampire. She's a Moroi, and that is a good vampire who only drinks from people who offer their blood. She doesn't attack people, she takes it from what they call feeders. And her best friend Rose is a Dimfa, so she's half vampire, half human. And then there are also bad vampires called Stigoi, and they are your traditional we kill you for your blood kind of vampires. So basically the premise of this story is that when these two were young, they were in a car accident 2 years ago with Lissa's family. Lissa's family were basically wiped out, they all died. Lissa and Rose survived. They share a very strong magical bond between them now, and that's explored in the book about what that is. But just after that accident, Lissa's life sort of started to be threatened. And Rose decided to take her away to protect her. So they've been on the run for 2 years. But the book starts off with they've been caught and they've been dragged back to Vampire Academy, where they have to face the consequences of their actions and try and fit in again with the school and society and accept their responsibilities, especially Lissa because she's one of the royal vampires, and she's the only one left in her family. You've got a bit of a love story that goes on in this for both girls. They both find love interests, but more to the point, this is about two girls who are best friends, who are growing up and trying to find their place in the world. They always think they're going to be together, but the further this goes, the more they grow up and deal with life in the real world. It was really, really good. Some great twists. They obviously, when they get back, that person is still after Lissa, and it's quite a shocking twist at the end when you find out who is after Lissa and why. And this is a first book in a 6-part series, and I love that there are things in this first book that actually get tied up in the 6th book. So if you love a good series, Rochelle Mead, Vampire Academy. Next up is Divergent by Veronica Roth. So this is, if you are a Hunger Games fan, you have to read this if you haven't. Works on the same premise of a dystopian future. You've got a society divided into these 5 factions, which each represent a quality, a good quality. So you've got, which I can never remember them off by heart, is Amity are the peaceful, Abnegation are the selfless, Dauntless are the brave, Candor are the honest, and Udite are the intelligent. So each faction represents those traits, and they exemplify them and together work together as a society. So Divergent follows the story of 16-year-old Triss, who on her 16th, she's 16 now, so she has to take her faction test. So basically she goes in and they test her to see which faction she belongs to, because she's been born into Abnegation, but she doesn't necessarily belong there. And unfortunately her test results don't come out conclusive. They come out saying that she is divergent, that she cannot be sectored into one faction. She fits into, I think it's 3 she relates to. Anyway, so that sort of puts her life in danger because divergence sort of threaten the system. The system is based on these 5 factions, and if you don't fit into one, then you're going against the system. So when Triss has to choose her faction, she goes to Dauntless, because she wants to survive. She wants to learn how to defend herself if she needs to, because she knows that she's in danger now. And from there we get to meet an array of characters, including Four, who is fascinating. I quite liked who he turned out to be. And it's very much takes on the Hunger Games, where the kids, all the initiates who come into, who have chosen Dauntless, have to compete against each other in order to become full initiates into the Dauntless family. And if you don't, you actually become factionless, and that's sort of like being homeless. So there are some fantastic twists with this. This book was so sad at some points, and it's devastating, and it's just fantastic, really. Read it, please. It's I think I love it better than the Hunger Games, actually. Movie is out next month. So, back on the paranormal is Fallen by Lauren Kate. And this is following the trend of now going into angels rather than the vampires and the werewolves. So basically Luce is a 16-year-old who is sort of having issues. She's being followed around by these sort of dark cloud things, and they're really weird. And one night she's out with a boy and they're making out in a cabin, and the cabin sets on fire and he dies, she survives, and that sort of sends it all tumbling down. So that's the premise of Fallen. She's then sent to this private school where for bad kids, because she won't talk about what happened to her that night, and she's been misbehaving and it's all a bit out of control. Anyway, she gets to this school and there is an array of really weird characters there, and one of them is Daniel, who she feels an instant connection to. She thinks she's met him before, and so proceeds the story where they sort of have their tit for tat between each other. They're flirting, they're not flirting, they're fighting, they're not fighting, and then of course there's the mystery of all the other kids at the school. There's something going on, there's something with these kids, they're not normal kids, and Luce is sort of jumped into the middle of it, and sort of wants to find out what's going on and find out what these black cloud things are that haunt her. So that's the premise of Fallen. Yeah, it's a love story. It is. It's a love story with angels. If you know your angel mythology, you'll probably pick up the story a lot quicker and a lot easier. But if not, it's still a nice little surprise as you get to go around. It sort of deals with good, bad, which one's which, and the characters are never quite what you expect. So that's Fallen by Lauren Kate. They have started filming this year, and I believe the movie's either going to be out end of this year or early next year. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so next up is If I Stay by Gail Foreman. This is a love story, tells the tale of Mia, who one morning wakes up and it's snowing very heavily, so school is cancelled. So her family decide to drive out and visit family, and they are involved in a car accident. What sort of follows is sort of a ghostly thing. I'm not really sure how to describe it. Basically, she's not dead, Mia. She's still alive, but she's in a coma. She's out, and it follows her as she sort of sees what's going on outside of her room and outside of her body. So she's following her friends and her boyfriend, and reflecting back on their relationship and her relationship with her best friend. But it's just a really nice story. It's a nice story about family and friends and the relationships we have, and you know what is important in life and all that stuff. So it's really hard to describe this book, but it's a really nice one and it's short, and give it a go because it is going to come out as a movie later. A couple other recommendations. I haven't read these yet. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I have read a lot of John Green stuff. I haven't read this one yet, but I'm told it's fantastic, brilliant, spectacular, and I've also been told I'm going to cry like a baby when I read it. So, got to be in the right frame of mind for that one. They have started filming that. The trailer has been released, and I think it's coming out the second half of this year. And last one is The Maze Runner by James Dashner. I haven't read it yet. Heard good things about it though, and filming has completed, and I believe the first trailer is actually coming out for this next week. So that's another one to keep your eye on. It's sort of dystopian fiction, yeah, sort of apparently it's been compared to the Hunger Games. So if you like the Hunger Games, apparently you like this, but I'll have to give it a read before the movie comes out. Okay. Alright, so that's all of them, guys. Thanks for sitting through. If you're in the Cranbourne Library anytime in the month of March, we do have a display of current, upcoming and previous page-to-screen adaptations of YA and some adult ones. You'll find that in the display board close to the young adult section. So check it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys next month. Ciao!